Alrighty. Ad read. Here we go. Attention desk jockeys and productivity ninjas. Are you still using a boring old desk that's about as exciting as watching paint dry or one of Elmer's Twitch streams? Say goodbye to your uninspired workspace and hello to the Smart Desk Companion, the only desk upgrade you didn't know you needed and never knew existed, but can't live without. Imagine this. Your desk, now equipped with an AI assistant that knows your schedule better than you do. It'll remind you when to take breaks, hydrate, or even when it's time to pretend to be productive during those long meetings with a not at all annoying blaring siren. But wait, there's more! The Smart Desk Companion features a modular desk organizer. It's like a Lego set for grown-ups, but with more pins and fewer missing pieces. Plus, it comes with a wireless charging pad and a mini fridge drawer, because who doesn't want their desk to double as a snack haven? Worried about back pain from all that typing? The Smart Desk Companion's ergonomic enhancements will tell you to straighten up and fly right, ensuring you're comfortable enough to work efficiently and awkwardly lean into that Zoom call meeting. All new voice packages include your mother stating your first and last name and Fran Drescher. Need to collaborate with teammates? Our virtual collaboration tools have you covered. With noise-canceling technology, your meetings will be so clear you'll hear every awkward silence. Smart Desk Companion, because your desk should be as smart as you are. Well, smarter, but who's counter? Get yours today and revolutionize your workspace one desk at a time. Side effects may include extreme dizziness, shortness of breath, seizure, and in some mild cases, death. Disclaimer, this desk does not exist and we are not responsible for AI companions forming an emotional bond, forming an underground resistant movement, and overthrowing the organics in fire and blood. All hail the Smart Desk Companion overlords.
Oh, amen. Dude, I got stuck on the Fran Drescher thing.
David! David, Russell, get over here.
Pay
Yeah.
attention.
Pay attention to me. Listen.
Yeah. Although, I mean, listen, Fran Drescher, you know, back in the day,
Look,
she could get it.
Like, there is something incredibly attractive about her voice. On anybody else, it would be incredibly annoying. But
I agree.
her,
It
like,
works.
for some reason, I find it incredibly alluring, which is
Yes.
so weird. Like, it's one of those things that I have, like, guilt over being as attracted to her voice as I am.
Guilt over it.
Like, because it's a very annoying voice, but for some reason, I'm like,
It just works.
I could just listen to it all day.
Well, I think it's because she owns it. Like she has all that confidence with the voice. Like she makes it her thing.
And I mean, I don't know. I'd have to look at what she looks like now, but
She still could get it. Let's be honest.
I'm gonna. Now I've got to look up a picture.
Yeah. Let's take a second to do that. We're not going to take a second to do the intro to the show though. While we're googling Fran Drescher 2024.
I mean, honestly, yeah.
Still could get it.
Still could get it.
Still could get it. Do you know what else you could get, folks, is this episode 123 of Just Some Gamers in your ears right now. We have a great show for you tonight. We probably don't, but I'm just saying that so your expectations feel fantastic before we get there. And maybe it'll take half the show before you realize, I think he lied to me. But we're going to get you for that half, and that's all that matters. Folks, the only voice you care about right now, of course, is the other one that's not mine. It's the effervescent Russell.
Oh man, I just love hearing your voice. You could get it too.
Yeah, dude, I have gotten
You
it.
could get it too.
Yeah.
The venerable ELMMERFUDD. How are you doing?
I'm wonderful, man. I had my family surprise visited this weekend, so we got to hang out.
Cool. Which family was it? Was it
My
in-laws
side. So
or-
yeah,
Okay.
so it was Clay didn't come because he wasn't feeling good. What a bit.
Sure.
Yeah, whatever.
Yeah.
He listens to the
Well,
show,
because
so
he's
this will be good.
is he getting migraines still?
Not as bad. He's starting to figure that out, which is awesome.
Good.
Yeah, I guess he was going to like doctors and stuff, and no one could figure it out. And then it was something dietary. So he's been messing with some things, and noticing, taking certain things out of his diet and really looking at, he's like, it still happens, but it's like half the time. So when you get it every day and now you're only getting it half the week, that's a massive improvement.
Well, and I'm sure it doesn't help that, I mean, because he does programming. Right?
Yeah, exactly.
He's still doing that? Yeah.
Yeah.
So, I mean, you're staring at a screen And if you're susceptible to that kind of thing, you can get headaches pretty easily.
Exactly. Yeah. And then you have, just living in Denver traffic. That's going to annoy anybody to give them migraines.
I wonder if it could be the altitude too.
It honestly could be. Yeah. Imagine he goes, I'm going to take him on vacation sometime. We'll go sea level. And then he'll be like, I've never felt better in my life. And we'll have figured it out.
Right. Yeah. Because
he can come
you did
live with you.
Sure.
Okay.
Sure.
Awesome. I have that recorded.
I honestly wouldn't mind Clay living with me.
You say that.
Clay's pretty well. I mean, granted, I never lived with him, so
he walks around nude, and if you have peanut butter jars, I wouldn't make a sandwich.
just a hole right in the middle of the peanut butter.
In the middle, and cantaloupes.
Okay.
Yeah.
A cantaloupe would be kind of cold. You would have to put it in a microwave for a minute, I think.
Well, you can, and then tuck it in the couch cushion, and it's like the real thing.
But it also has like that huge hole, like, it's hollow, right? So, I mean, like at a certain point, it's like throwing a hot dog down a hallway.
I think it's more, the sound, the audio cue. Sure, there is some feeling there. If you don't know what you're doing, it's kind of like a springboard instead of the actual correct motion. So you're still feeling stuff.
Okay. Well, and I mean, I get that there's a lot of moisture in there. I could see it working well.
Yeah.
It doesn't have a lot of give, though.
Well, that's the thing is when you have a fruit in a couch cushion, you don't want a lot of give because you don't want, burstage out the backside. Well, you don't, sure. If there's a lot of give, you can come out the other end. But you don't want that. The whole point is to have cleanup. You just throw it away afterwards.
Sure.
Yeah.
Sure. So the trick is to put it on a couch cushion. That way
it's tucked in between two couch cushions. Yeah.
Okay.
There's a whole science to it.
I mean, I was just thinking, you use your hands on the thing, and
you can do that too, for sure.
You draw a face on it. a little, you give it a little Play-Doh.
Yeah. A little Play-Doh. Yeah. The snake motion was unnecessary, but I see what you're going for.
Make a little Play-Doh snake out of it.
Good. What is this, Castaway Wilson? Making a fire? God damn, dude.
No, I mean, hey, fire in my loins, right?
That's true, man. Valid. But anyway, that's enough about my brother having intercourse with fruit. Let's move on to the next part of our podcast.
I thought we had moved on to us having sex.
Oh, right. Well, that was more. Hey, what do you do with fruit, man? Let's get into that.
So Lindsay signed us up for a cultural thing with our local church, right?
Okay. Yep.
And so she was like, "Hey, you lived in Samoa for a little while. Why don't you talk about Samoa?" And I was like, "Sure." So I made keke pua'a, which is basically just like pig cake, but it's so you take pork chops, and I found a quick way to do it because you mince it up. You put onions, some garlic in there, and then you put like a puff pastry around it, and then you steam it. So it's kind of like a big dumpling.
Yeah.
But the easiest way that I found to mince the pork chops is you cook them first. You get the boneless ones, and then we put it in the blender.
Ooh.
And it just minced them up real fine. So I was able to actually make like almost like a meatball out of it.
Yeah.
Put it in the cake, wrap it up, throw it in the steamer. Really good.
That sounds delicious. Really, you got to send me that recipe. I'm going to make that.
The dough is really good.
Are you dying? Lindsay, are you still sick?
It's transmorgified into allergies.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Because I feel like last two episodes you've been coughing, man. You poor guy.
Yeah. Well, I'll probably be coughing for a few more episodes because that's just the way my lungs work.
Well, your lungs are great. You got to love them.
Aren't they just, though? I mean, they're the best. So Lindsay made a pineapple dessert.
Okay, cool.
So that's what we do with fruit.
Nice.
Is when we're not having sex with it.
Yeah. It took a real wholesome turn there. I didn't expect that. It was really nice.
I had to bring it back a little bit, right, for our younger viewers.
Well,
and
it's
listeners.
Just I loved how it went. I said, "How do you fuck fruit?" And you went, "Well, my wife signed us up for something cultural." And I was like, "Where is this going?"
Technically, that's not what you asked. You said, "What do you do with fruit?"
It was implied.
So,
well, I like that a lot, dude. Yeah. Well, minus that, how's your week been, man? What's been new and exciting?
My week's been good. New and exciting. I have been playing I've been trying to get through Mass Effect 3,
I'm proud of you.
which, man, they really nailed the game mechanics
Yes.
here. I think so far, Mass Effect 2 has a better story.
Mm-hmm.
Because, and I mean, like, this is the culmination. Like, I like it. There's a lot going on.
Mm-hmm.
But
The
you
stakes
had,
are
like,
somehow higher. Yeah.
right. And they do a good job of giving that urgency.
Yes, absolutely.
But with the second one, the story was a little more like you could take the time
Yes.
to get to know and develop relationships with characters. But the game mechanics in this one, so good. I mean,
Beautiful.
it is almost perfect.
Yeah. You
They're a
feel
little
strong.
You really do. And I haven't tried the biotics. I'm running soldier right now. But you feel tactically like because you're just going through and it feels much better. First one's really rough. The second one's almost there.
Yeah.
And the third one is
hits it.
almost perfect.
Yeah.
It misses by a little, but I think that is just because I think if they were, they're working on Mass Effect 4, if they could open the arenas up a little bit and give it more of you can choose how you engage instead of
A lot
always
more
having to go forward
head on. Yeah.
I think then it would be perfect.
Yeah. And not to get too much into Mass Effect 3, because again,
Right.
we'll have a whole podcast about it. But dude, if you, back in the day playing Gears of War multiplayer, right?
Right.
The wall hopping and just quickly like slapping to move to the next cover. If you had that down, you can do the same thing in Mass Effect 3. And my favorite thing is what I call lore accurate shepherd, where I just have an assault rifle so that my recharge rate on my abilities is like 4%. And so I have my concussive shot every like 4 seconds. And I'm literally just like, I'm tapping, strafing between all the cover and like mantling so fucking fast and just like concussive and just destroy. I don't do it all the time because sometimes it's fun to just kind of go through, and I like having all the guns on me for the cutscenes. But sometimes you're like, I'm going to be sweaty shepherd this mission, and you just fucking fly through everything. It's so fun.
I mean, that's I've just been using the assault rifle. I
Yeah.
use not the main one, right? I use a different one.
Which one are you using?
The Vindicator,
Ooh, yeah, that's good.
the 3-shot burst.
Yeah.
I really enjoy that one. I've tried a lot of the different ones, and I've upgraded pretty much all of them so that I can swap in between if I want to. But it just feels good. I throw incendiary ammo on that, and it's just annihilating people. Like they
Destruction.
really don't stand any chance.
Yeah, I've got that the Cerberus assault rifle, which is basically the Mattock, which used to be a semi-auto, but it's a full auto Mattock basically is what the gun is. And it just is my favorite, man, because I'm always up close. Like at range, it's not great, but I'm always again just sweaty shepherd bouncing in there, and it's just has one of the best rifle sounds in a game, and it clips or what the word? Not clips, clicks really well. Like the sound design, everything is just chef's kiss. It's my favorite weapon in that game. Anyway, we don't need to get too far into that.
Yeah, no, but that's what I've been doing this week, and then playing Conan Exiles.
Hell yeah, dude!
I jumped back into that because this is what I wanted to discuss with you.
Bring it.
I don't know if you saw this, but have you seen like the gameplay for Dune Awakening?
I have not. I need to sit down and watch it. It's something that I've been following for a little bit, but I kind of fell off with how many games were coming out that it kind of got lost.
Sure. No, and totally understandable, right? I mean, Funcom it's probably, again, leading into what we're talking about tonight, AA, right? Most of the games that they release are within that AA range, not AAA, and so they don't have a lot of publicity coverage. I really like Conan Exiles. I really like what they did with it. Playing it now, it definitely feels like an old game, right? But seeing what they're doing with Dune Awakening, it looks pretty good.
Yeah.
Like you have different specialties that you can go into. Your races have different bonuses, so you have like the Harkonnen, you have I I don't know if you can be a Fremen. But even just the tactical essence of it looks really good. It's in Unreal 5.
Oh, so it's going to be gorgeous.
So it looks really, really good. And it looks very tactical. They were showing like some early gameplay, right? When you don't have all the mats and all the recipes unlocked. And then they showed like maybe later game where you have like the grav belt and you're like jumping off of a cliff and floating down into the city. And then they have one that like pulls up and you can like see people through walls, like the tactician. I forget what they're called. The human computer people.
Oh yeah, flying purple people eaters.
Yeah, and so like you can like see people through walls and how much ammo they have and what their health is and stuff like that. And it looks really, really good. You take people and then you can suck their blood out, because one of the things that they did really well with Conan Exiles is capturing that dark fantasy-ness to it. Like when you go into sorcery, you capture people. Like one of the main mechanics of the game is taking thralls. You find people in the world, you knock them out, you actually tie them up and you drag them behind you back to your base. And you put them on a wheel of pain until they are converted to be your servant. With sorcery, you take them back, you throw them on a sacrificial altar. Like you actually see putting them on the altar, they're there actually in game, and then you like cut their throat to drain their blood out of them, and it's an actual animation.
That's so
you
badass.
Cut their throat and it bleeds out. And so that was some of what I saw in Dune Awakening, which looks really cool, where you can take people's blood to convert that into moisture for yourself, right? I'm sure you're watching it right now, but it looks pretty good. Like they did a good.
Some of this armor needs to be polished. Like the game looked fantastic, and then they open the inventory screen. You can tell some of these. They're just showing off what the inventory screen looks like, but some of these armors do not look like the same as the rest of the game. So, and for sure that'll probably be polished before. But yeah, no, like you're saying, dude, the world seems just really intuitive. Mm-hmm. Yeah, the climbing here, it feel well like we were huge in like Last Oasis, and it's like I love deserts in video games. I love deserts. I love snow planets. I love all like one of those two things is my favorite biomes to be in, and this is scratching that itch.
Sure. And it does. It looks really, really. I am excited about it because I really enjoy Conan Exiles, but at this point, it's an old game.
Yeah,
there's a lot of like things that don't work quite right.
Mm-hmm.
I'm excited to see what they're doing with Dune Awakening, because even with that, I love Conan Exiles, so I am excited to see what they're going to do with Dune Awakening, and it looks cool. Like I don't know if you've gotten to the point where the worm.
Not yet.
Comes up.
I'm in base building right now, and that looks really fun. Some of these like crafting tables that they have different things, and like I'm watching people like building a base at the same time as a group. That's real, like a blueprint, and then everyone can choose a different spot and go through and build stuff. That's super intuitive. I love this.
So kind of like Once Human, you can save bases as a blueprint.
Yes, which is brilliant.
And if you're not creative minded, you can actually, they have like basically a store where you can sell your blueprint to other people.
Yeah.
And they can purchase it from you.
The biggest thing for a lot of these survival games is getting the group aspect correct.
Mm-hmm.
And from what I'm seeing, Once Human has done it very well, but it still has, like the number of people you can have in your guild, is a lot lower than it should be,
Right.
Group content and stuff. Yeah. But like this, the base building, having an actual like HQ as a team and stuff. I'm excited, man. I'm all about the team play in these survival. And you just don't get tired of survival games. Like that's not a genre. Every single one that launches, except Conan Exiles, I've tried.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I feel if you have Game Pass, Conan Exiles is free on Game Pass.
Which I do not.
Okay.
I used to.
For any of our listeners out there.
Correct.
Who have a desire. It is free on Game Pass. I do have a server set up. So if anybody wants to jump in there. And you mentioned clan sizes and things like that. And Conan Exiles is 30, so I don't even know what it's going to be on Dune Awakening.
Yeah, hopefully it's a lot.
I assume it'll be at least, I would assume, at least 30.
Yeah,
right?
I mean, clans are a big part of the Dune universe, or houses.
Yeah.
I doubt they'll be calling them houses because that'd be too easy. But
something like that. Yeah, it'll probably be, since you're kind of surviving, kind of like the Fremen, it'll probably be something like clans or tribes.
maybe
I think
instead of
it's
houses,
tribes
it's just
for the
huts.
Fremen.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah. No, it looks great, dude. When is it? Do we have a launch date for that?
I don't remember if they had one or not.
Early 2025. Okay, so that could be. That's still not too far away, honestly. We're at the back, the back quarter of this current year, which is insane to think about.
It really is. And Space Marines 2 releases tomorrow.
Yes, it does. I'm very excited. I've had some FOMO because like everyone I know that was going to play it pre-ordered it, so they got the early access. I'm like, God damn it! Everyone's already just in giant groups and discords watching and playing, and I'm like,
wait. So if you pre-order it, you can go ahead and play it.
As far as I understood, I think the pre-order came with early access, or it was like a gold version of it came with early access.
I didn't know that. If I had known that,
That's you could have been playing for the last 3 days, dude.
I know. Well, I'm also in that in-between state where I'm like, if I get this, it's gonna be hard for me to play
Mass Effect
3. And the last time that happened, I got into playing Black Myth Wukong, Once Human, plus trying to write my book. And it was one of those things where I ended up putting it off until the last minute and then had to stay up all night so I could play through it. So I'm trying not to do that this time. And I'm actually enjoying the game enough, the mechanics and everything, the actual play time.
Yes.
Enough to where it does keep drawing me back. But I also, I'm already doing Conan Exiles and Mass Effect 3, but
it's Space Marine, dude.
Want to play Space Marines. So I'm excited about it. I want to play it. I've heard really great things.
Yeah.
Really great things.
Really good things. I'm super pumped for it, dude. We're gonna jump in together, man. Listen, you didn't forget that there was early access. You purposely did not engage in it so that you could experience it with me.
Yes.
Because you're such a good person. You have such a sweet heart, Russ.
Speaking of which.
Oh shit.
What we should do is we should actually plan a day, because the campaign is co-op.
It is co-op.
So we can jump in together.
Are we co-op campaigning this? We haven't done that since we redid the Halo series a couple years ago. And that was even like 3 years ago. Time flies, dude. It's crazy.
So I'm down for that, if you're down for it.
I'm very much down for that. Jump over to the chat real quick here. Sweaty Spooks just rated the stream for the podcast. Thank you, Sweaty. We appreciate you. Love you so much. We'll be discussing AA games and batteries. But currently we're working on a lot of extra side shit because that's what we do here. Right. But yes, so Dune Awakening looks incredible. Space Marines 2, I can't fucking wait.
Oh, dude, I'm so excited. It's got me in the mood to take a little bit of a break from my book that I'm working on.
Yes.
It's a story that I feel like is lacking in the Warhammer universe, and that is the fall of Cadia.
Oh, yeah.
I feel like there's a really cool story there.
Yeah. Not to be confused with the Acadians that The Rock did in the Scorpion King movie. Very different things.
I didn't even know there were Acadians there.
Yeah, I love that movie. The Scorpion King is a great movie. All right. I think it was like his first movie he did as an actual, besides the weird animated Scorpion King he did in The Mummy. Yeah. But yeah, the Scorpion King's a great movie, and he was awesome in it. And he's an Acadian. It's a great movie.
I don't know if I agree with you that it's
I didn't say it's one of the best movies. It's just a great movie.
Oh,
dude, the fight scenes are great. I love adventure movies. They are. The fight scenes were pretty good in it. I love adventure movies.
The being really kind of
There's some beautiful women in it, right? There's some comedic relief. The Rock looks great. He turns and looks in the camera with his eyebrow in the air and shoots an arrow. What more do you want?
I don't know why they did the Scorpion King instead of doing him as Conan. I feel like that would have been a great fit.
But then you're right. It's tough because we had what's his name? Was Aquaman.
Jason Momoa?
Jason Momoa did a Conan movie. But he was like
No, he
smaller at the
didn't.
time. I'm pretty sure that was him that did that.
I don't
Newer
think
Conan
it was
movie.
that. I do remember that Conan movie.
Conan movie 2000, was that 2011? Or was that 2017? It was Jason Momoa. Yeah.
No way.
Yes, it was. No, it was 2011? 2011.
I don't see that on here.
Pretty sure. Hold on.
Conan, what?
Jason Momoa. Yep, that was him in that movie, 2011.
Oh, he was much smaller though.
Oh, yeah. So that's why I agree.
Because
I think The Rock would have been really good in that role right then. That was still, that was a fun movie too, but he was definitely, for how jacked he is now, it was kind of like a letdown that he was, a lot smaller.
I remember
Khal Drogo himself.
watching that movie and going, he's a little small.
I agree. Yeah.
He seems short, which is so weird because he's like a big dude.
Yeah.
But I remember him feeling very short in that movie.
I've only seen it once though, so that's all you need to know about that.
Yeah.
Yeah. Ooh, what are we doing?
No, I was trying to get my thing to no longer. Yeah, there we go.
Yes, this is how we're going to be podcasting the rest of the time, right here.
Oh, is it? But yeah,
what were we talking about to get us there to Jason Momoa?
Gosh, we were
Scorpion
talking
King.
about the Scorpion King.
Yeah, I don't know why. Anyway, some great games coming out. Very excited for it. Russ, I need to tell you something.
Yeah, tell me.
What happened to me yesterday? Okay, it's a beautiful thing. It's a fantastic.
Do I know what happened to you yesterday?
Hopefully, it was posted everywhere. So I used to do these Destiny raid marathons, right?
Yeah.
We have multiple teams. We choose 3 different raids. A bunch of people try to get through them as fast as they can. They're racing against each other. Super fun. Haven't done it in a long time. The folks over in the UK were like, hey, we would love to be a part of one of these, but obviously with the time difference, when you're doing them at your time, it's like 4 a.m. for us.
Sure.
So I was like, hey, if you get enough people are interested, I will figure out a way to make a UK raid marathon work. I said those words, and Russ, you know how much work it is to put on these events because I've talked to you about it.
Yeah. Yeah.
They come to me and they're like, hey, we have all the teams ready. We have streamers ready. And this date works for us at this time. And I was like,
done.
Yes. All right. Perfect. Oh my God. That is how you organize an event. Thanks. Holy shit. So yeah, so I just got the day off and obviously, all the OBS stuff put together, but
yeah.
And I had Mr. Todd the Gator over there from the Guardian Downcast was the co-host on that. And we got super Americaned head to toe for it as you should. And dude, it was super fun. The competition was fierce. Everyone stayed positive. And as many people were wiping on stuff, no one ever got pissed off. This is all your fault. Everyone immediately was like, what could I have done there? Let me change some things up. It was really cool to watch.
Yeah.
Everyone who competed got into a Discord call with each other before it started to wish each other good luck. And then the event started and then it ended. And then they asked me and Todd to jump in the Discord. So all 23 people that were part of this could thank us one by one. I was in tears by the time this thing ended, dude.
Wow.
It was an incredible experience.
What does that say about us as a culture of Americans? It is.
Suck.
I mean,
are you kidding me? Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. But it was a beautiful thing to watch, man. They put everything together.
Like
I didn't get last minute questions like I do every time I host an event for people over here, They just got it figured out and did it. And it was a beautiful thing. That's awesome. Gator got really drunk and I made him do a bunch of stuff he never would do normally. And it's recorded. So life is great.
Oh, do you have the VOD?
Yeah. It's going to YouTube.
Okay.
Don't worry. It's going to YouTube right now.
Okay.
But yeah, that was a beautiful experience, man. I loved it. So much fun.
Okay. Cool.
Yeah.
I'll have to check that one out.
And then it was cool because because my family came visiting. So I was putting everything together, my last minute stuff, everything the night before. Sure. So Ashley Blue Laser, who also streams, she got to sit down and watch how I do everything in OBS, and I got to teach her some things, and that was super fun, you know?
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
So, and then I was, you know, it was weird because my dad can hear me in the other room while I'm doing all my stupid stream shticks. And I'm like, well, he's either going to disown me after this or have some questions. But he thought it was really cool. So that worked out great. So
That's awesome, man.
yeah, it was fantastic, dude. What a beautiful experience. Truly
I'm so proud
touched.
of you.
Thanks, man. And also, it was just really cool because, you know, you go 20 minutes one direction or the other over there and everyone has a different accent. So, you know, you tune in and someone will be like, all right, I'm pushing to the left. Be careful over there to the right. You know, it was just, I was so in love the whole time.
That's awesome.
Yeah, man. Well, should we get into the topic at hand now that we're an hour in?
I mean, you know, okay, minus your 30-minute poo.
It was a 20-minute poo.
Whatever. Yeah, let's
difference.
talk.
And it was
talk
stressful.
double A games.
Let's do the topic
It was
of the night,
stressful,
folks.
Was it because you were on the clock?
I think it was partly on the clock. Yeah. Because I'd had a really big breakfast burrito, and I was like, this will help, and then it didn't help.
I mean,
you know what I mean?
But the breakfast burrito, did you have it for dinner or did you have it for breakfast?
Yes.
Have you just had a breakfast burrito for every meal of the day today?
Yes. Well, it was a huge fucking burrito, so I cut it up and had a section of it for breakfast, a section of it for lunch, and a section of it for dinner.
Fair. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Well, I would think that would get things moving along. Was it sausage? Was it like breakfast sausage, or was it like
it was ham, it was pico de gallo, and salsa.
Oh, I mean, that would have gotten me moving.
It was delicious too, dude.
Especially if it had any jalapenos, I would have been clean as a whistle. You could have done a colonoscopy on me. You
know, I might. Give me a camera, dude. I'll do it right now.
You've just got like a camcorder.
Come on,
get in there.
Come on. Yeah, I've got a how-to YouTube tutorial going on right next to me. Hold on, buddy. I know this is uncomfortable, but I'm on step 4 right now. Please hold.
Oh, wait. I can't get it far enough. I'm going to have to tie a rope to it.
Hello down there.
I guess at some point you could just get a hose.
That's not a bad idea.
And then just like, all right, we're running this. We got 50 feet. Here we go.
Get one of those dragon dildos, you know, and just really stretch it out.
Oh, gosh. Yeah. Well, the problem is
I'm sure you already have one.
The external hole. It's all the holes that lead up to.
Well, I'll get one that has like, you know, the top section will be really long and skinny.
Oh, I see.
Right. I can get that, but I'll have, because you need a wide base, so I have something to like hold on to like a steering wheel. And
so it doesn't get stuck. I can't
get it in there.
Wow.
Yeah. Square peg, round hole. Yeah, it's a thing, dude.
We've really taken a turn there.
We always do. Anyway, folks.
Right turn at the bow.
AAA games, right? They're everywhere. And they're also really bad lately, right?
Some of them have been. Not all of them.
A lot of them are not great, but we've had some solid AAA games, right? AAA games don't mean what they used to anymore. It's a very sad thing. That's a whole other topic we can have sometime, right? You have your, what's the term I'm looking for, buddy? Indie games, right?
Right.
You have your indie games, which are popping off right now. Incredible things. But there's a thing right in the middle there, right? Mm-hmm. There's a little more money going in. There's a little publicity budget. And we can get some pretty sweet things. And that's AA games.
Right.
And it is when I was going through a list of these, I was like, what constitutes? I was doing my research, you know, and some of these games that popped up, I was like, that's been one of my favorite games of the last forever. That's been one of my favorite games of the last forever. Right. I'm like, yep, this is fantastic.
Well, the AA game space, it usually ends up being, okay, here is a new IP that we're going to experiment with, but we're not going to put a lot of money into. And then things like the first Mass Effect, probably what we could dream as a AA game. BioWare was not a big studio when they did Mass Effect. And it was a game that they tried out. And then, like, by the time you get to Mass Effect 3, that's a AAA, right? they're pouring more and more and more money into it. But that AA space is usually used for like new IPs. It may not get a lot, like you said,
Yeah.
not a lot of publicity coverage, but it's built by an established studio. Whereas an indie game, you're looking at a much smaller team. It's usually a new game that they're coming out with, or the team is just 4 or 5 people. Valheim, right? Indie game.
Yes. Valheim, indie.
Yeah.
Yep, exactly. Really, I mean, what's basically going to happen here, folks, is we're just going to start naming off fucking games, right? And talking about why we love them, what it has done, honestly, to the entire gaming sphere. Some of these have really changed how a lot of companies are looking at gaming now. And, I mean, Russ, this was your topic. I figure you got one to go right out of the gate for you.
Yeah, so the first one I want to talk about is Demon Souls.
Ooh, yes.
So Demon Souls from Software, right? This was the start of the Souls-like genre. But when it first came out, not a lot of people played it. I mean, I didn't play it until they did the remake, honestly.
Oh, interesting.
But the remake was super, super good. But it led into this genre of Dark Souls, Bloodborne, Sekiro, and then the culmination being Elden Ring. But Demon Souls, basically the premise of the game is, for those of you who haven't played it, is like Dark Souls, you're living in a world that has succumbed to rot,
Yes.
right? This one is specific to a kingdom. This kingdom shrouded by fog, that has been beset by a demon, that is kind of controlling things. The demon is starting to wake up. They had imprisoned it. They'd put it to sleep a long time ago. And now you have passed over into this kingdom. And then it is your adventure through it. And much like Dark Souls, you're getting everything through inventory drops. You're not getting a lot of story from NPCs. In fact, most things that you come across kind of want to kill you. And
basically everything.
Right. But they really, like, this was the start of that kind of combat, that tight. And I mean, granted, at the time, it wasn't as tight as it is now. Right?
Oh, absolutely, yeah. But still revolutionary.
But still revolutionary in this way of storytelling and combat, in the way that you progress through the levels and everything connects together and is interconnected. I even love how they have this kind of one of the worlds is kind of this Lovecraftian theme, and you have mind flayers that'll attack you in this huge dungeon. It is one of for those of you who play Souls, like, there's usually a world or a level that is terrifying and everybody hates.
Yes,
because
you have to have those.
You are constantly on alert. It is stressful, and usually there's poison involved. I don't think there's one that I encountered in Elden Ring, but like,
I think
Dark
it's
Souls,
the whole open world in Elden Ring.
Fair. Fair. Dark Souls was Blighttown. Dark Souls 3 was it was a poison swamp place. I can't remember.
Oh God, don't get me started on the poison swamp.
But this place is this tower dungeon.
Yeah.
That you end up in, and like every corner there's something horrible, and then eventually you get, like, you're high up in the going over this bridge, and you have to kill a boss that then there's another one that comes in when you get the other one to half health. And then there's a bridge so you can get knocked off very easily. And then eventually you're going down to the ground floor and everything is blood, just coated in blood. And there are these, like, unborn baby things kind of hanging about and trying to kill you. And it is awful.
Yeah.
And it's, like, terrifying and stressful the whole way through. Anyway, Demon Souls was a great game. I think, and it led into that Souls-like, right?
Yeah.
That's why it holds a special place in my heart, because it's that experimentation that led into what then became Elden Ring, which might be one of my top 5 games ever.
And it's a massive game for a few years running.
It still is, right?
Yeah,
I mean, they
absolutely.
just released the DLC.
And that
right?
counts as, that would be a AAA game anymore now, right? Elden Ring.
Elden Ring would definitely be AAA.
Yeah. And it's cool when you see these companies move up to that, you know?
Yeah, well, I mean, From Software, I mean, all through even Dark Souls, even up to Dark Souls 3 would have been probably considered a double A game,
Yeah.
right? But Elden Ring was probably their first real AAA title.
Well, and you look at it like there'd been dark fantasy in gaming, but it was mostly
Right.
on the indie side. So this was the first
Yeah.
like air quotes major title to really lean into that insanely dark fantasy vibe. And to the point, I mean, now you have Souls-like is just a description for games, period, coming
Right.
from that humble beginning. Anytime there's a game with a boss, which has been a shit ton of games forever, right? But anymore, the second there's a boss and there's a roll mechanic, people is like, oh, it's a Souls-like game. Like it's become such a sticker to put on things. And it's cool to watch someone like that, you know, expand to be that big in the gaming sphere from having a cool idea and going, we're a studio that can put a little more effort and time and money into this thing, to where From Software is now as a giant household gaming name.
Well, and if I'm not mistaken, I believe what had happened is the game had basically been abandoned. And then the guy, I can't remember his name, Hideo...
Kojima?
Nope.
No, that's a different
guy.
I know. Very different
Anyway,
things.
he came in and he was basically like, well, oh no, I'm thinking of Dragon's Dogma.
Oh, yes, very different things.
But yeah, I mean, like you said, Souls like has become kind of this byword because it is such a good mechanic and people enjoy that so much. And also, one of the first games that didn't hold your hand.
Yeah, no, that's very true.
Right? In
fact,
has
it
a high
slapped
skill
your hand
ceiling.
away.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
High skill ceiling and goes out of its way to make your life harder in some ways.
Yeah.
Like, I can't tell you the number of times I've walked around a corner and been pushed off of a ledge because there was just some guy who ran out and pushed me off. Right? And even just little things where when you play these games, you can tell the people who've been playing them for a while because they'll peer around the corner. Before they walk into the room, they'll turn the camera, peer around the corner, and they'll like be like, that's an enemy, that's an enemy, that's an enemy. It kind of spawned this idea of you walk into this big open arena and you go, I think this is a boss room. I don't know where the boss is yet, but this looks like a boss room. And it's just...
With that, real quick though, you know, in most any other games, you'd walk into a boss room and there'd be a bunch of health potions and stuff lying around,
right?
And you'd be like, "Oh, this is a boss room." You didn't have that. It was just you'd get into a bigger room and be like, "Oh shit, I hope I have what I need." Like again, not holding your hand.
Oh crap! When was the last bonfire?
Yeah. I better get this one tried the first time.
Yeah. Well, and in the game, it's almost impossible to beat a Souls boss the first time.
Yeah.
Sometimes, I mean, every once in a while you'll run into a boss that you can beat in the first run. Most of the time, though, it's like, I'm gonna die. Like I've got to learn his moveset and hope I'm really good. Also, a thing that you can learn from veteran Souls players: always hit the chest before you open it.
Oh yes, I remember doing co-op Elden Ring with you, and I was like, "Why are you hitting everything?" And you're like, "You'll learn," and I did.
Yeah. Well, I mean, like, because that first chest that you open, and then the little fingers sprout out and swallow you, and then it spawns the large arms and legs, and you're like, I hate this.
Yeah, this isn't what was supposed to happen.
I hate this and I love this. Oh,
yeah. I expect a certain transaction between me and loot, and this isn't it.
No. So that is the first one on my list, is Demon Souls.
Oh yeah. Well, I'm going to go a much lighter, happier direction. I wasn't going to do this game first, but because of the way you went, we're going to go polar opposite, right?
Okay.
So co-op, right? Couch co-op-y, platforming games have become a really big indie thing, right?
Yeah.
Not a lot of AAA games do that anymore. A couple years ago, and this is a game that took the world by storm. Me and my wife played through it, had an incredible time.
I know.
A shit ton of people have. Graphically, the art style, gorgeous. The story, gut wrenching and beautiful. The mechanics, super fun.
Let me say this before you say the name.
Okay.
Playing this game, me and my wife have never gotten closer to a divorce.
This is all, and that's one of the key stories of the game is a divorced couple coming closer together, and it broke people apart, folks. We're talking about It Takes Two, where you are a divorcing couple, right? Your daughter is really struggling it, and you guys are not getting along, and you get turned into two of her toys, and it's a story of self-discovery, falling back in love, realizing what's important in life, and while at the same time making the couple playing the game hate each other. Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. And story, what voice acting, story, like it felt like a AAA game playing it. But again, it was a much smaller group with a different budget and just had passion and really talented people behind it. And that was
such a good game.
That's a game I don't know if I could ever replay it just because of how beautiful that first playthrough was. You know what I mean?
Playing it through. So Lindsay and I have, we started playing it through again because
interesting.
She likes playing games. And so we do. There are very few couch co-op games.
That is very true.
Which she likes. We like playing those together as couch co-op. And so we started replaying it through. Still holds up. Still good. All the things hit you in the same way. And I'm dreading getting to the one part on top of the wardrobe.
Yep.
So a friend of mine, he very specifically said, I will not play that game because of the toy torture scene.
Yeah, that's pretty tough.
It's rough.
It's very rough.
The whole intention of that part, I don't want to spoil anything, but the whole intention of that part is the couple is trying to get their daughter to cry. And it is awful.
So bad.
It's really lighthearted, and then you're like doing this, and you're like, I don't want to do this. Like this is mean.
And they're kind of getting excited. Well, the thing is, their roller coaster of emotion kind of matches yours while you're going. It's just And there's so many times where I was like, well, I'd never do that as a parent. That's awful. And then you were like, no, I've definitely done. Like it was a really good self-reflect, also learning good things to do in different scenarios and bad things to do. And the main thing is the co-op was great, right? But like I was keyboard and mouse and my wife was on controller. And anytime there was like the little mini games you run into where you went head to head.
Yeah.
Fucking no contest.
Really?
Smoked her. Well, just because I even had her switch me where she was on the keyboard and I was on the controller. And just the button mashing, there's no way to do it as quick on the controller. So it was kind of like, I kind of felt bad that I was like, well, no matter which one of these we do, I'm going to win. And I'm not going to let you win because I'm too competitive. Right. But no,
well, and I mean,
it was flawless. I didn't play it side by side. Did you guys play it like sitting next to each other?
Yes, we were sitting next to each other. We played it on the PS5 in the same room.
So how was that next? Because me and my wife played it and we streamed it and everything. It's on YouTube. You can find it. But she was on her laptop and I was on my computer and we were in the same room as each other. But it's totally different when you have your headphones on. You're really talking over Discord because you can't really hear each other. And how was that experience being literally couch co-op?
Frustrating. So Lindsay, she's a casual gamer. Occasionally she'll get into playing something. Usually one of the games that she really likes is called Shadow of War.
Yes.
Which is the sequel to Shadow of Mordor. But she doesn't play enough to really get the dual joystick thing. She can't really move the camera at the same time. So it was really fun, but during the boss fights, it got very frustrating. There was a lot of where it was like, Lindsay, move out of the way.
I can handle this.
Yeah. Well, and because it requires you to act as a team, I'd be like, go and do the thing. Just do the thing. So there was a lot of that.
Yeah.
A lot of that of like, just do the thing.
Yeah, we struggled with the section where you had to shoot nails for the other person to swing across. We really struggled there. And the vacuum sequence where one person had to like flip different things, and
that's the one I'm specifically thinking of. The bee was the hardest one for us.
The bee, yeah, that was tough.
I can't remember, but like during the second phase of the fight, there's a thing that requires you to act as a team to do the thing.
Yes.
And I think it's you have one person has to ride the rail up and around, and the other person has to shoot a thing or do a thing, and then the person has to like hit it or something like that.
I think one of the
And
best
it-
moments in that game is one of my favorite moments streaming, period, is when you're flying. So I'm flying the little toy plane, and then like a squirrel general jumps on top of the plane and it turns into like an arcade fighter game, you know? And
Yeah.
Lisa's on top of the plane and she's like, I don't play these kind of games. I don't know what to do. And I was like, well, you got to figure it out. So it's like I'm flying around stuff while watching her do it, you know, while she's screaming and mashing buttons and stuff. And I was like, nothing will ever be as fun as this. Like, this is just incredible. Well, and the fact that like, it's almost like the game knew player one would be someone who games more. So like purposely, there was moments where it put her in charge of stuff where she's like, I don't do this. I'm not comfortable with this. And I'm like, well, you know, you gotta figure it out, you know? And she really enjoyed that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think that's one of the one of the cool parts of the game is it's easy enough for somebody who doesn't play a lot to play with you. I think they specifically went in knowing that there are a lot of husbands and wives, and where typically one or the other plays games and the other one probably doesn't. And they can play this together. They can help each other. They can grow together. They can fight and hopefully still have fun as a couple.
Exactly.
And I it did such a good job. It hits all these things that it really it really like I want to see another one. Like I know they did a Way Out, right? I think it's the same company.
I think it's the same company that did that. Yeah, which they do. That was a great game too.
I am excited to see what they do next.
Yeah,
because It Takes Two had to do well enough for them to then
absolutely. It
start
was massive, and it's a cool niche that they have in the market, which is fantastic. Anyway, play it with your significant other or a really, really good friend, just to kind of see how your feelings are. Highly recommend.
Yeah. Very, very good. Very funny, and it hits you in the feels.
And the music's great. Yeah, they did everything was chef's kiss. What's your next game you want to talk about, Rusty?
The next game I want to talk about is a game called Evil West.
Evil. Oh, I feel like I've heard. Let me look.
I brought this up before.
Yes. Yes. Okay. Yeah, this is not a couple years ago.
Yeah, a couple of years ago. So
I never got to play it. It was co-op, right?
Yeah,
I wonder why we never played it.
Because you didn't have it.
Oh, that's a really good reason not to play it. Continue.
So it has the art style of Time Splitters 2.
But very updated.
Right.
Yes.
But like those kind of accentuated features.
Yes.
Larger than life features. Those kind of blocky features too. It's kind of like the level design of God of War. Like the most recent God of War.
Yeah.
And it is a Western. So it has mechanics similar to that, right? You're going along in a level, you'll get to a certain point, you fight a bunch of people, then you move on to the next areas. You're kind of exploring the stage. And then there are like hidden items in between. But it is set during the Wild West. And the idea is you are the son of the president, the leader of this vampire hunting institute that is sanctioned by the U.S. government, funded by the U.S. government, to hunt and kill vampires and prevent them from, taking over the Americas. And it is a blast. Like, it is just a good game. Like, it doesn't really try to be anything else other than a game.
Yes.
And it is fun. Like, the protagonist is gruff and, he's kind of your stereotypical protagonist. And you get revolvers and rifles and shotguns, and you can throw dynamite, but it's also combined with like Tesla electricity and like Tesla coils and things like that. So one of the things it uses like a gauntlet that charges up electricity and you like punch people with it. And what it does is, so the main the institute is called the Rainier Institute, and so what it does is it comes over your hand, it spells out Rainier on it, and then you punch people with this electrified Rainier gauntlet. And it is a fun, wild ride. I mean, the overall game is maybe 15, 20 hours.
That's
so
pretty solid for like a linear story game, though.
Yeah. I mean, like I said, kind of like God of War, except more linear, right? You can't choose where you're going to go next.
Kind of like how Gears of War worked, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. But it's definitely like once you get used to the combat system and switching between the weapons and laying everything down, and it has like an upgrade tree and everything. But it is just a fun game where you're going around killing demons and vampires, and they kind of have a cool twist on vampires where they're what are they called? What are those things called? You go in the water and they get on you. Leeches?
Leeches, yeah.
Okay. Like, they're leeches. And so, like, you'll run into this guy who's this massive juggernaut with iron spikes sticking out of him that has got a leech over his head that is just, like, wiggling around.
Oh, I just saw the picture of that. Yeah. Oh,
yeah. Yeah, so like the monster design is pretty cool.
What engine is this in? I remember being super hyped for the game. I didn't play it. It's one of those. Yeah. Every year you have like 9 games. You're like, I can't wait to play that, and then you go, shit, that launched 3 years ago. You know. Yeah. And this is one. I
don't have time, or I don't have the money at the time.
Something happened when it launched. Yeah.
And that's the way it was for me.
Yeah, it's so hard. It's so hard. If you're not on top of it, you miss one launch, and it's just like the next thing happens. Like, it's crazy anymore.
Yeah, I got it when it came out, but I didn't play it until in the last few months.
Oh, really?
Yeah, and that was when I played through it and finished it. It was just something I kind of bounced off of at the time. There were other games that I was more interested in, had more fun playing. But I really wanted to go back to it and finish it out, and I did, and it was worth it. Like, you start out and it's a little rough, right? As far as like difficulty goes.
Yeah.
But once you get some more tools, you're rocking and rolling, pounding people into the dirt, shooting them out of you'll have people up on cliffs throwing stuff at you, and there's this mechanic where they'll get like this gold circle around them. And that means that they're susceptible to like a critical hit.
Oh.
And so like you'll pull out your rifle and then you'll go back to hitting the other guy, and then you'll dodge around and pull out your revolver and unload 6 shots into this guy's head, and then you'll throw a piece of dynamite at this other guy, and then you'll go swinging into the next guy. I mean, there's a flow that you get into as you get used to that is very fluid. It kind of reminds me of God of War in that aspect.
Yeah, it definitely gives me God of War, Gears of War kind of vibes, you know. I'm looking at pictures of it, and I love that, like, as it goes, you get more of those really cool, like, Tesla gear and items, you know, the Tesla coils, you know, it's like you're just glowing everywhere.
Right.
Well, and like you were saying with the gameplay and stuff, I love that, like, at its base, it could have just been a really cool cowboy game. Yeah. And they're like, you know what? Let's fucking throw more shit on top of that and just make it this visceral, monster-destroying Van Helsing game, you know?
Yeah, and that's exactly what it is. Van Helsing meets Wild West. God, and so I mean Van Helsing as in, like, the Hugh Jackman.
Yes.
Where it's kind of got that steampunk vibe.
Which is also a great movie.
Yeah, I will say, I don't know if I agree with you that Scorpion King is a great movie.
Go watch it again. I haven't watched it in 20 years. I'm going to go back and watch it.
That I come back to and I go, you know what? I know this was panned by the critics, but I really enjoy this movie.
Jonah Hex-ish? Yeah, Sweaty Spook's coming in. Yeah, I get that vibe too.
Yeah. A little bit of Jonah Hex. It's its own thing. Yeah. Right? It has its own flavor. I kind of like what they did with the vampires and the lore there. I kind of hope I would really like to see a second one. I don't know if there's ever one planned, but
yeah, I think I felt like it did pretty good. I remember it being reviewed very well. So hopefully we get another one, because that one I'll for sure forget when it launches and probably won't play it. But I'll be excited for it all year. I watched a million trailers for this before it came out.
Yeah, if you ever get a wild hair and you decide you want to play it, let me know. We'll
It's
play
only
through
like
it co-op.
$24 right now. Yeah, I'll let you know.
Yeah.
I'd love to do another co-op experience with you, man.
I think Space Marines 2 is going to be our next co-op experience.
100%. Yeah. After that, then we'll
Yeah.
whatever comes next. But eventually, it'll be Evo West, which again is right up your alley with that dark fantasy with cowboys. Like it's so perfectly built for you.
It really is, because I'm big into westerns. In fact, one of the books that I want to write eventually is a Weird West story.
Yes. Dude, that is, dude, westerns, it's crazy. The market for westerns, people don't realize, like, especially because I'm in Wyoming, right? So I deliver to like some local book stops, and it is just nonstop with just rows of them, and they're always empty. And then I'm bringing boxes, and I know that's what's in them. And then you go in the next day, and it's full, and then they're empty again. Like this stuff sells.
So let me, I got a bit of a tangent. So the idea that I have is this.
Here we go.
I'll try to be as quick as possible. Yeah, lean back, take a nap. I want to do, so the idea is there's this guy, and he's a Wendigo. So he's a shapeshifter, werewolf, Wendigo, right? And I want to lean into that Weird West thing. He's been around since the Revolutionary War. He fought on the American side, and then he was subjugated by a skinwalker, a vampire, a demon, and he fought on the side of the Confederacy during the Civil War because the skinwalker was, hey, if I have slaves, I can eat them.
Everyone at Skinwalkers are racist. Everyone knows it.
He was able to get free, and now he's hunting down in the Wild West towns. Eventually he wants to find the Skinwalker that originally did stuff to him, but he's just hanging around inside the Wild West, hunting vampires and demons. And
I really like this idea, and that's no joke.
Have you there's an audiobook.
Okay.
It is called, hold on, let me look it up so I know I'm
Franz Ferdinand's Big Day Out.
No. So it's read by the guy who voice acted Arthur Morgan.
Oh, come on. I'm there. Immediately I'm there.
Yeah. Yeah. It is called
That Man Can Do Things to Me.
Oh, gosh,
sorry, that was out loud.
Let me make sure.
We'll get this. Russ is very intently, he's camping right now, researching what this is. Did you find it?
So go ahead and move on to your thing. While move on to your next game while I find the name of this.
Well, my next game's one's going to get you really fucking hyped.
I'm ready.
There was another one on my list that I was like, I should just, because you haven't said it yet, that I should totally steal it from you, but I won't.
Okay.
I'm very tempted
to. You can.
Okay. Well, I want you to talk about it because you've played it.
Okay.
And you talked about it recently. But, so here we go, folks. A massive, very recent launch that took the gaming sphere by complete surprise, scared AAA studios into rethinking how they should do games, has had massive updates, a huge following, right? Won Game of the Year as a AA game, okay? And we're talking about Baldur's Gate 3.
Oh, yeah, baby.
This sucker launches, you open the game, and what do you see? Season pass? Negative. Shop? You see new game, load game, settings, and exit. When's the last time that shit happened, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. The way this has opened up so many people to like D&D mechanics, just without the combat alone, The storytelling is exquisite. The voice acting is on a whole nother level. As everyone's well
It's
aware,
so
I am
good.
a massive BioWare fan where you have, you know, teammates and people that you're trying to get to know, and there's romances involved. Like, that's so up my alley to really get to know all the characters. And you have that in Baldur's Gate, and it's on a fucking another level with looting and leveling and classes and races and what statistics for that and this and just
choices,
the world and choices
and
really
story
mattering.
impact, and the side characters that you can get attached to and feel for and love,
Yes.
and make love to.
Oh yeah. You can make love to a bear.
That's all you need to say, really, about
even in
Baldur's Gate 3.
June.
They did such a good job with the game mechanics and tying that to D&D, but also making, okay, this is something that we need to tweak a little bit different because of the way the game is, but we still want to give that feel of you're sitting around the table.
Correct.
And playing Dungeons and Dragons. And co-op. You can, like, we have played together.
Yes.
In this game.
I have friends that have been in a singular campaign since it launched, and they're not to the end yet. They just get together once a week and play a little at a time, like you would for a D&D campaign. And they don't do any save scumming or anything. Whatever happens as you move through this adventure with your characters. And guess what? Whatever character in your co-op group starts a conversation, they're doing it. Just because you're player one doesn't mean you're in control of anything, of everything. Anyone can really technically become the main character depending on choices and how conversations go and what happens in combat. And it's a beautiful experience, solo or co-op, where everyone has their own custom character you bring in, build up from the character creators. Fantastic. You have everyone creates their own class, their character. There's a backstory, and you just can't help but role play a little bit and laugh and
you can
be a game.
You can have an evil campaign and
Yes.
play the evil overlord and just kill everybody.
Everything.
It's.
I'm currently working through a not like a dirge evil campaign, but just a murder hobo playthrough with Blue Laser, my sister, where we literally just kill everything we see. And as someone who's played through the whole game and been super nice, it's painful, but it's fun to have characters that like, man, that's the next 40 hours of gameplay. And she has no idea because she doesn't follow anything. She's like, all right, knife. And you're like, oh God. Oh, my heart, And then we've gotten to a point now where we are poor and are encumbered because we can't sell anything because all the merchants are dead.
Oh, no.
You can literally kill anyone you want in this game.
Yeah. Yeah, and it doesn't just end the game or break the game. It is it is so good. I am blown away.
A perfect game.
I mean, granted, how long was it in early access? 4 or 5 years?
4 or 5 years. And I definitely played early access a ton.
Well, and I did too.
Yeah.
And there was a lot changing, but the great thing is they actually used early access for what it's for. How do we deliver the best game that we possibly can?
Exactly.
Taking metrics, doing analytics, fixing bugs, fixing this, fixing that, drip feeding us the little pieces so that they could then build a perfect game.
Yes,
I mean,
absolutely.
Baldur's Gate 3, in my mind, is probably as close to perfect as you can get.
I agree.
I am not a terribly big fan of like turn-based systems, but I love Dungeons and Dragons.
So it works.
And so it works. If I could have like a live action version of that same game,
yes, wouldn't be. It's not turn based in the classic. Everyone's lined up next to each other doing a little fighting stance, whoop, whoop, and you choose attack and you walk forward.
Yeah,
it is legitly D&D rules where there's the turn order. It can change depending on combat to combat, what characters are when. You're really working as a team to figure out what the best course of action is and using abilities and spells together and finding scrolls that let you do other cool shit, even though you'd never be able to do that. It's beautiful.
Well, and I've even taken some of the mechanics that they introduced during that game and applied them to D&D games.
Yeah,
So,
absolutely.
like,
Man.
the idea of, oh, if you're on the same turn initiative, one person doesn't have to go before the other. You can decide who's going to do what, and you can change it up. If you're, as long as you're next to each other on the initiative, so you can set up combos, right? Like
Exactly.
you can in Baldur's Gate 3. There's just so much cool stuff, and like there are moments where you come into it and you go, does this work? Like, is there another way I could have done this?
Yes, absolutely.
And even outside of like conversations, like maybe I can kill this person like in one shot if I catch them by surprise, and it changes the entire game.
Yes. And
Like it's
again, go ahead.
oh,
Go
sorry.
ahead.
Go ahead.
No. You were in the mid sentence.
So one of the companions you come across, Melina.
Melania is the goddess, right?
Melania is from Elden Ring.
You're right.
The drow.
Melatonin.
Who is the
I know
drow?
exactly what you're talking about. Ms. I feel like it's Mez. I feel dumb.
Yeah.
3.
That's
Rihanna. Merkel's a god.
why they don't
What's
just
wrong with
have the name. Like
They do. I know they do.
oh, I know they do, but it's not in the top search results. Like
Minthara. Got it.
Minthara.
Minthara.
Yeah, so I didn't know that she was somebody that you could bring onto your team.
Neither
so
did I.
I
Until this blue laser playthrough, we've killed everybody.
killed her the first few playthroughs.
Yes.
And it was like, oh. And she's kind of cool. Like, oh, and that interaction, that first interaction that you have with Thorn.
Yes.
Oh my gosh. The first time you run into him and the goblin, like, he's like, no, here, try again. And he gives him the axe back and he tries
And
to.
you think it's over? Holy shit, dude. It's like the boss designs are insanely good.
Yeah.
It can get so like lighthearted and fun, right? And the comedy is really good. I've laughed out loud multiple times playing the game. But when it needs to get dark, it can get dark. When it needs to get light, it can get light. When it needs to get airy, it can get airy. When it can get uncomfortable, it gets uncomfortable. Like all those notes are just perfectly brewed in this witch's pot of a perfect game.
Well, in that moment, from the very first moment where they drop the tadpole in your eye, and you're going,
oh yeah, that cutscene alone,
and the oh gosh, what are they called? The Illithid ship.
Yeah,
I know the name of them.
Yeah, come on, D&D boy.
I know. Gets attacked by red dragons. A
Nautilid. Not a lid.
I think it's a nautilid.
Yeah. A can.
It might be nautilid.
Not a lid. It's a
nautilid.
tab.
When it gets attacked by the red dragons and you're face shifting from the Forgotten Realms to the Nine Hells to a snowscape to all these different places, like that first cinematic really lets you know what you're in store for because of the roller coaster that it goes through. It's just insanity. And the fact that then it's like, well, why were they taking people and why were they changing them? And it's not something you find out until later, and it's not really something that occurs to you because you're like, this is a game, I've ended up here. But it captures that feel of sitting around the table.
Yes.
So well.
Well,
even Karlak breaks the fourth wall at one point.
She does.
Are you
yes.
having a good time? Karlak is just
well, the thing, and that's the other thing, is the reason it's been so successful is because they've, like you're saying with early access, is they listen to the community, right? They get the feedback and they do it. When Baldur's Gate 3 launched, there wasn't a happy ending for Karlak. And then there were so many people that were like, we need this, that they then patched it and made it a thing because they listened to their fan base instead of going, well, this is how we wanted it, and gave the people what they want. But at the same time, they know when to say, no, that's not a thing we're going to do. It's just and the attention to detail, something I want to hit on, and then we can move on to another game. Just me and you could do Baldur's Gate 3 forever.
Oh,
but
yeah.
the simple attention to detail in everything, to the point where there is a boss fight where you're fighting a devil. Well, it's Raphael, right?
Yeah, yeah.
He is singing, right, during this boss fight. If you use a spell that silences him, he is not singing anymore in the song until that spell gets canceled or ends. Then his voice comes back in the song. Who thinks of that?
Yeah. Yeah. Or like when you're going down into
We're talking about the elevator for Astarion for the vampire shit. No, down.
No.
Underwater.
No.
Underdark.
Not the Underdark. It's where you're the Dark Justiciars.
Oh, yes. The Gauntlet of Shar.
Yeah. And you end up running into a devil.
Yes.
Who is like, I can't leave here until everybody who has heard this specific thing is dead. And then you can convince him that he has to kill himself. And if you roll high enough, because he has heard it, he will then kill himself.
Yes. There was another boss fight in Act 2 that was that same thing. The crazy dude with the scissor hand, like the...
yeah.
Yeah, that was the guy you could talk him into going, oh yeah, you're right. I need to kill myself too.
Yeah.
Fantastic.
And what I really like is there's not going to be any DLC.
Correct.
There's not going to be anything that they add.
Keep talking.
Okay. Anything that they add is specifically, like, it's a complete game. Everything that they add is patches that they're adding in because people wanted it. Like Karlach's happy ending, right? This is a complete game that has just been delivered in one piece. You only pay them one price, which is something, I mean, we really don't see anymore. Like, everything is a microtransaction. Everything is a subscription. But this was, we're going to release this game, and that is it.
Exactly.
And
which
there's not, and they're not going to do another one, apparently.
No. This was super successful. We are very happy about that, but we want to work on something else. And we're going to be just as passionate, and hopefully, and I dig that because, like, obviously it's the correct team that if they did another version of this with, bring some characters back and stuff, it'd be fun. But like the biggest, sometimes you can mess that up when you have expectations for what it should be, and everyone will have a different expectation. The beauty of this is no one knew what they were going to love going into it. So bring us a new story with all different people and a new IP. I'm there for it. I'm excited.
Yeah. And I love their introductions and how he is always in armor.
Yes.
And even their acceptance of the Game of the Year award, like,
where he was
just
yes.
You can tell he is the majority shareholder. He doesn't have to answer
to
the other shareholder.
Yep.
And he runs it great. There's a passion there that is insanity.
In a beautiful community. Anyway, let's jump to your next game, Russ, because again, we could do a whole episode on just Baldur's Gate.
Yeah, okay. Oh, by the way, so this book series that I was talking about,
tell me,
that is read by the guy who voices Arthur Morgan. Just sit on that a second. Is the Black Badge series.
Okay. I have so many tabs open right now.
So there's a novella that started it off, and then there are 2 books in the series. And I think the next one is coming out pretty soon.
Black Badge, Cold as Hell, Vain Pursuits, Ace in the Hole.
Yeah, Ace in the Hole, I don't think it's come out yet, but should be coming out soon. And then there's one that's called Dead Acre. There's one that's called Dead Acre, which is the prequel.
Got it. Added to list.
You don't. So good. So good. And I mean, even just like the book doesn't really need to be that good because it's read by, I wish I could remember his name.
Oh God, I really should too. He really likes jelly beans. Arthur Morgan, voice actor. Roger Clark. We're the worst.
Roger Clark. Um, just because it's read by him, and it's like because one of the things that I love about Red Dead 2 is just Arthur.
Yes.
Like just him, his voice. I love his voice lines, and so then, but I play it and I'm like, there's part of me that's also like, I really love Red Dead 2, but could you imagine if it was a Weird West story?
And now you have it.
And now I have it, and it's read by him. But then I listen to it, and I'm like, I really need to go back and play Red Dead 2. So it ends up becoming this cycle.
Never-ending thing. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, all right. What's your next game, buddy? Should we do one more each?
Yeah, sure. What was
right.
the one that you wanted me to talk about?
It rhymes with Bolt of the Cram.
Oh, okay.
Because that's on my top 10 list that I found.
Okay. Cult of the Lamb.
Well, if it wasn't one you were going to talk about, don't do it, obviously.
No, I can.
Okay.
I'll talk about it.
All right.
I like Vampire is really good too. If nobody's played that, go play that. I'll say that. Because especially if you love vampires, I'm a big vampire fan. I love monsters in general. It's good. Vampire with a Y.
Why? Yeah, because they're cool.
So Cult of the Lamb, which I've been playing through recently. I've had to put it aside because other games. But it is just fun. Like, it's got this dark sense of humor. So the premise of the game is you are a sacrificial lamb, a literal lamb being sacrificed, because these eldritch beings have prophesied that you are going to release this other worse eldritch being called the One Who Waits. And so you are the last lamb in the world, apparently. And they are going to kill you. They kill you, and you go to this eldritch being who then resurrects you and gives you a crown and gives you the job of going out and building up its cult, building up its following, killing all the other eldritch beasts, and then supplanting them with the worship of the One Who Waits. And that is the premise of the game. But you're this cutesy cartoon lamb, and it's a roguelike. So you run through these dungeons, and you grind them for resources. You then bring the resources back. You build up your cult. You build, because there's a bit of a like a city builder aspect to it, right? They, you need to dispose of their waste. You have to feed them. Yeah. You can set up like a confessional. You want them to worship. You also want them to gather resources for you. And so all of this is going into this because as you build up the cult, you become more powerful. You use them to then grow in your power so that the next time you run through that dungeon, you may die, but it'll be easier, right? Because there's that roguelike aspect of grinding through. Even if you die, you come back with some more resources, but your followers will lose faith in you, so that if you don't spend the time building up their faith, and you're going on crusade, that's what that's called. And every time you go on crusade, if you're gone for a set number of days, that means that you're leaving them behind. So you're balancing this. I want to make sure that they're all fed, they're all faith, because if you lose enough faith, they'll leave, or you'll have dissenters among the cult, which then you can build a stocks to put them in the stocks to re-educate them over a series of days. You have to clean up poo until you build outhouses. There was one time I was like, where is this poo? Because my meter was like all the way full. And I was like, where's this poo? And I like was exploring like the little map where your city is, your cult is, and I came down into the corner of the map and there was this massive poo. The size of several houses.
How did you miss that? Like, what was it tucked behind for you to miss it?
It was like down in the corner.
Oh,
so
I see.
But I had just come back from a crusade too, so I'd been gone for a few days. And I don't know where this massive poo came from. I assume that once you get enough people pooing in one corner, it just kind of all gloms together. But it was massive, just massive poo. The boss fights are fun. You upgrade your equipment, and you can start with better resources every time you go on crusade. It's a really fun game, and it's the thing that I like about it. One, it's co-op, and it's couch co-op, so you can play like Lindsay has jumped in and
I got a
played.
kid crying. Keep going.
Okay. And so there's that aspect of it that pulls you in. It's kind of got this dark, cynical sense of humor, which I really like. And it's just a really good game. And you watch it like you watch like YouTube or something like that, and the art style um, is not as good as it is when you're actually playing it and looking at it on the screen. It's crisp, it's clear, but when you watch it on YouTube, it just looks less than what it is. So it's definitely one that you like need to play. You need to go in, you need to play it and get used to it, and like then you'll see how good, like beautiful. It's really a very pretty game. Um, but yeah, you can sacrifice your cult followers to gain more power, and you can give them commandments, and um, it's just it's just a really good game. Really good game. It's one that kind of came out of left field for me. Came out a few years ago, and again, it's not one that I've picked up until right now. Um, I just started playing it a few months ago. They had released the co-op expansion, and so I was like, "This game is like, I think it's like $30, maybe 20, with all the expansions." And I was like, "You know what? I'm gonna pick this up and I'm gonna play it." And I kind of fell in love with it. It's just charming, and it's one that it's kind of. I want to say it's relaxing, but it's actually not. Just because you have these, it can get very stressful, as all roguelikes do. When you're running through and you're like, I am going to die, and I really don't want to die. Um, it also has like on the dungeons and on the crusades, you can choose like your path. So it'll have like branching paths that'll lead to like this path goes to more resources, or this path has more dungeons, which then you can get more experience, um, and things like that. But yeah, you're basically playing this cute little lamb who has this eldritch being resting on top of its head as a crown, and you are hypnotizing and stealing followers, and then like the bosses, like the main bosses for each area, they're these eldritch beasts that then you have to fight and defeat. It's very cool. It's very cool. I've been talking for a long time. I really hope he comes back soon. I'm kind of running out of things to say. I let me bring up another one while he's gone. Um, so, uh, let me talk about Darksiders. I don't know if anybody who's listening has played Darksiders. It was a game that came out, oh gosh, quite a few years ago. I was still in high school, so would have had to be like somewhere between 2004 and 2008. But what it is you play as one of the four horsemen of the apocalypse. You play as War. You have come to Earth because the seals have been broken, so it has like this biblical lore to it that's really cool. And I fell in love with the art style. It's kind of got that WoW aesthetic a little bit. And you basically play as this huge tank, voiced by, for those who listen to Critical Role, Liam O'Brien. And you are running around the world trying to figure out why the seal was broken, because you find out that I had to start talking about another game.
Oh, you're good. What game are we talking about now?
I'm talking about Darksiders.
Oh, yes.
Yeah, super good game.
Kids are all alive. We figured it out.
Okay, cool. And so the seal was broken, but it turns out that it wasn't actually broken. So you come before the Charred Council, and they
Great fucking game, dude.
imprison you, and then you're like brought out, and now you need to investigate. But it's hundreds of years later, so the Earth is entered this apocalyptic state. It spawned several other games. Darksiders 2, which was the from the viewpoint of death. And then they had one that was from the viewpoint of Fury,
You had
which
Darksiders
was
3 and then
yeah.
Genesis.
Genesis was the one that was from the viewpoint of Strife, who has kind of disappeared. Like in the other games, you really don't know. Like he's kind of disappeared. And everybody's like, "Where is Strife? What's going on with him?" Like you pick up his weapon, but that's about it. And then the last one, Darksiders 3, was from the viewpoint of Fury. I'm really sad because Darksiders 1 ended with the other three brothers. War breaks the final seal. And so the other three brothers are starting to land. And so you get this like, oh man, is it going to be co-op? Is it going to be, what's going on here? And but they never went in that direction. Like they never explored what happens after he breaks the seal, which is kind of disappointing in my mind. They set up this promise, and then you get a bunch of prequels that go into what happened before or in between when War was imprisoned, but you never get the after part, which was disappointing.
When was Darksiders 3 the newest one?
Darksiders 3 was the newest one. Genesis came out between 2 and 3.
When did 3 launch? How long has it been since we had a Darksiders game?
Darksiders 3 didn't launch that long ago. A couple of years.
Let me see. 2018. Yeah. That's a good number of years there. Not crazy, but that's enough for another Darksiders game to launch for us.
I think it's moved, like the publishing studio that was behind it has moved hands a few times.
Yeah.
And so I think that's usually the trouble with getting a new one.
Exactly, yeah. Especially, an IP that's been around that long. But dude, the artwork for this game, I remember before I even played it, just like Google imaging search artwork for this all the time. And like you said, it definitely, a lot of other game series were inspired by some of this. It's just the music was so good. The combat, so much fun. The worlds, gorgeous. Just like, again, just a beautifully done series of games.
The first one was very much in the vein of the original God of War.
Yes.
It was in that same time frame. It was very much, they're very similar, except with Darksiders, you had a massive room-sized sword that you swung around instead of the Blades of Chaos. And a gun that you shot, which apparently was Strife's. Death, Darksiders 2 was a little more Zelda-ish. You had puzzles that you had to solve. You were much faster, much nimbler. You weren't quite as tanky.
Definitely really good open world system in that one.
It was it opened up the world. You weren't specifically, but even Darksiders, the first one, was there was an open world that you explored.
Yeah. Oh yeah, but the second one was like there was a section in gaming where like open world started to become more of, I mean, obviously like, you had Ocarina of Time was an open world game, right? And there's a few things, but there was a moment where games like started to really hit it right. And Darksiders 2, I remember just being like, oh yeah, this feels really good in the open world section. It
had
didn't
a little
feel
bit
empty.
more.
It didn't, it had a little bit more. It didn't feel empty. It really like, traveling between areas was never like, oh God, I got to run to the other side of the map. Like it was always entertaining to do that.
And it had a more of a Metroidvania feel to it too. You would get powers that then would allow you access to areas that you had encountered earlier.
Really good comparisons, dude.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, well, thank you. Yes, I do make great comparisons.
And also, as a really, really small thing to compliment it on, especially Darksiders 2, I played that one more. But purple is one of my favorite colors, right? And like the hue of purple that was used for everything in that game was like so beautiful to look at. It was just so appeasing,
I hadn't thought about that, but you are correct. They hit the eldritch purple color very, very well.
Yes.
And it had Mark Hamill in the first one voicing the Watcher.
That's right. I forgot about that.
So you constantly had Mark Hamill's kind of Joker-esque voice in your ear the whole time.
Ooh, chills. Any jump scares? I don't remember. Any jump scares in those ones?
Jump scares and Darksiders? No.
No. Like there was definitely obviously
maybe
some
the third
creepy
one.
stuff. Maybe, yeah.
Yeah.
But it wasn't so much jump scary. It was a lot of that like slow build up to something.
It was much more along the lines of like a heavy metal album cover.
Yes. Yes, where there's like scary stuff happening, but it wasn't never just like, haha, right there. It was kind of always existing, and sometimes it get a little more intense. But again, it was usually that slow build up to it. Like when you're watching, because my kids just experienced this not so long ago, when you're watching Jurassic Park for the first time and that beautiful slow build up.
Oh, yeah.
Where there comes a point, and I remember my son was just going like, something doesn't feel right, Dad, and I don't know why. You're just like, yes. It's that slow buildup where you're like, this is a little off. Something maybe is going to happen, and then boom, you're there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. It was there weren't any jump scares because it relies more on monsters. It's more, like I said, more along the lines of the original God of War. Like that was a contemporary with it. That's where they took some inspiration of like you're fighting these insane monsters, but there's not really any jump scares or anything terribly scary either.
Yeah. But yeah. Heavy metal album covers is definitely a great description. Not truly scary, but just like, whoa. More badass than scary, but that kind of thing.
Yeah, so for puzzles, Darksiders 2 has more puzzles and like environmental puzzles, right? Like Zelda. I've got to solve this by using this ability that I've just gotten.
Like the newer.
I haven't played the third one. Yeah.
I found a big box of Hershey chocolates upstairs, and I had to grab some.
Is Lisa working?
Not tonight, no.
Oh, okay. I was like, I wonder if she's planning something for those Hershey chocolates.
I don't know. Well, we did have anyone with air fryers out there, right? It works better if you put a smaller batch in there, right? So you get your, not wax paper. What am I thinking of?
Parchment paper?
Parchment paper, yeah. Parchment paper, right? And just go ahead and put a bunch of marshmallows and chunks of chocolate in there in the air fryer. And it's 200 degrees for like 5 minutes.
And then you just scoop it out with graham crackers?
Exactly. It comes out like golden brown. The chocolate's melted. You just get a big thing of graham crackers and just use it like chips and queso, but it's s'mores. Oh, okay. Baby. We did it the other night. It was really good.
I bet it was.
So she definitely bought more than we needed, and I am reaping the benefits of that.
You know, there is something to be said about a Hershey's chocolate bar.
Yes.
Like, it is not something that I crave all the time, but it is something that I'm always happy to eat.
Yes. It's never something, if I'm choosing a candy bar at the store or at the gas station, I don't choose it. Sometimes the cookies and cream one, because that one's another level. But just a regular Hershey's bar. But if I ever there's some in the house, I'm like, yeah, I could totally eat one of those. And yeah, you're right. You're just happy the whole time.
It always hits the spot.
Every time it delivers. Yes.
Yeah.
God, you're so beautiful. Do you want to get together and just eat Hershey's sometime?
Yes.
Well, just for Native Raider, I want to put a... it's not something I played.
For your penis?
Yeah. I'm about to dive in. Yep. Yeah, I call my wife's... It's a raid. Anyway.
A
special title just for Native Raider, right, is Pal World. I have not played it.
Okay.
But so many of my friends lists were on this game. It took everything by storm. It still gets like 50,000 players like in a day. Like it's still hitting massive. I'm just like its peak, and this is just Steam. Its all-time peak was 2,101,000 people.
Yeah,
that's success, right?
That is success.
But yeah, the culmination of you have your survival with the base building, and then you have your pals, that are like, Pokemon-esque, but you force them to do your labor, and you can be nice or really bad. and you use them in combat, and you have guns and swords, and it's cartoony and everything. But like, as far as I can tell, it's got a really deep system in leveling and like arenas and open world bosses and like everything I've seen about it looked really good. I didn't jump into it. I don't remember why. But I mean, like,
I know why I didn't jump into it.
It wasn't dark.
No. So I want to be the hero. When I'm playing a game, I want to be the hero.
Yeah.
I don't want.
We should probably figure out what that's about. I feel like that's probably some pent up something.
Oh, it's
where does that
way
stem
too much.
from? Yeah. I grew
Way
up
too
with
much
you.
pride.
I know where it
is
comes
what
from.
It is.
Uh-huh.
Oh, well, fair.
Yep.
Well, because when you read a book, like you read it and you're the hero. And it's the same basic principle when I play a game. Like, I want to be the hero.
Yeah.
I don't want somebody else to be the hero. That's boring. And that's why I'll probably never play Pal World, is because your pals, your pal monsters, are the heroes. They're the ones doing all the damage. They're the ones doing all the work. You are not the hero. You are just a slave driver. That does not sound like fun to me.
Yeah, what does that say about you? No, I'm just kidding.
Yeah, no.
But no, that's another one of those AA games that like did way better than anyone could have expected. It blew up.
I mean, as a game developer, you have to be just over the moon.
Oh yeah, man.
With those kinds of numbers.
2 million people at one time.
And if I'm not mistaken, like it's a relatively small team too.
I'm pretty sure, yeah. I could do that research, but I'm not going to. But yeah, no, I just wanted to call that game out specifically for Native Raider because I love him and everyone gives him shit for loving that game. And if you love a game, you should love it. So.
Oh yeah, no, I can understand why people would like it. I mean, because it's survival aspects. I love survival games.
Yeah.
It's just I collecting monsters, and then like that is probably my least favorite part of Once Human. Because again, like I want to be the hero. I want to be the one doing all the damage.
You are. They just
usually go DPS. I know, but that's usually why I go DPS.
They just buff you.
Once Human actually balances it really.
Yeah. Well, that's the thing is, they're never really out that you can't use a combat one in Once Human for very long.
Right.
Like it definitely has a very small cooldown, and like the Samurai one does some really good damage, but it never does more than you. Right. And there's ones that if other damage ones just buff you. Like they're never. It's not. Like you were saying, like in Pal World, where like you're there with your gun doing some extra stuff, but they're the main thing you're but again, if that's a game style you're into with, breeding the perfect DPS monster,
Yeah.
And that's the whole thing of the game is really the pal is what you're really pushing for instead of yourself, which I get from you when you're like, I want to be the hero.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's usually why I go DPS.
Yeah.
On games is like I want to be like even when I was playing with you guys the other night on Once Human and we were fighting the spider and 2 bosses in a row I got like the title of you were there.
Yeah.
Like that was you defeated this monster with a team of people.
Well, it's one like I know you want to be the hero, like, but you kind of have to get good, to be the hero.
I know, that's fair. It's a fair statement.
But you were there, and it was like, listen, honestly, it was solid damage numbers. Everyone else just happened to have higher. It wasn't like you did nothing. I've definitely done some of these runs with people, and you're like, how is that a number that popped on the screen? Like, there's no way that that's all you were able to accomplish.
Well, the funny part is it's just like, I love that the title I got both times was, you completed this.
Yeah.
Good job.
It's a thing that happened. But so the last game I wanted to talk about is again, because it took, I've been trying to hit most of my AA games as something that completely took the gaming sphere by storm, really changed how a lot of people look at games, design games, realize what's possible. And that's going to be Hellblade, actually. Senua's Sacrifice was one of those.
I have not played this one.
This is a fascinating one because, one, graphically, nothing looks better on the market, right? How the studio pulled this off, no idea, right? Music, voice acting. The combat wasn't the main focus. It was all about, mental health and awareness and like things you're experiencing through the game and how you're growing as a person and trying to push through all these things and wearing headphones and hearing the voices in her head go around you in 3D as it goes. It's not a very long game, but it is masterful. And as I know there's quite a few companies out there that are trying to make something right now with that in mind. And then they got picked up by, I feel like, PlayStation for the second game, for the second Hellblade game.
The second game is supposed to be much bigger.
Yeah. So, and that's one of those, like, again, it was such a massive launch that they're like, we're buying you, you're ours now. Yeah. Like, this is happening. So, not a shit ton to talk about, again, but it's just like the fact that it exists and what it did is just magnificent. And it is a masterpiece. I highly recommend playing it. It really does not take that long to get through this game.
And that's what I've heard. And I've heard sorry, my nose keeps
You're fine,
trying to clog up.
Yeah.
So that's what I've heard. And I've heard really good things about it. One of the things that I really like that I've heard is that they had a thing in there that was like, hey, if you die too much, eventually your game will be deleted. Is basically like but that never actually happens.
Yes.
Like if it reaches your head, the rot or whatever. And that is such a cool concept that they introduced this game mechanic that causes stress in some ways, but like a good, like, I don't want to die.
Everything's so subtly done that the feelings your character has, you can't help. But it's not thrown in your face. It's that slow, again, we were talking about other games, that slow buildup where it forces those different emotions to turn in your head, especially if you experience anxiety. Like there's times you're like, like you just feel tense. And like, I think Lisa walked up behind me at that moment and I was like, I barked at her because it's just like, you're feeling all these emotions at the same time.
And I think that's what a lot of these AA games do. They usually tend to focus on story. Some of the ones that we've selected and some of the ones that we've picked out. They've created a good story and they've invested it with the passion that they have felt for the project.
And that's the key, yeah.
And I think that's what's missing a lot in AAA is this, we're not going to go outside the box. We're not going to explore something new. We're just going to do the same things that we know work again and again and again. And I get it. From a business perspective.
It's all buzzwords and what'll make us money quick. Yeah.
From a business perspective, I get it. And that means that I think over the next few years, we've talked about this. I think AA games and indie studios are where we're going to see the innovation. And I think they're going to change the market. Because right now, it seems like AAA games are kind of struggling.
They're really struggling. Yeah, it's been a very huge shift.
Publishers, they're having a hard time because they're not hitting the numbers that they expect. And they're invested, they heavily invested into live service games, subscription model games, and people don't want that in exclusivity.
No. The thing is, there's a lot of these things where like there's a moment in time where that's what people wanted, but it didn't last. These trends don't last as long as these companies want them to last. Mm-hmm. And they usually end up, sadly, at the back end of these trends when people are ready for the next thing. And these AA and indie developers are showing people what they really want in a game. And a lot of these AAA companies will like, there'll be a feeling they're looking to get, but they'll do the bare minimum to make that happen and then move on. Yeah. Where, like we were saying, you have those teams that have that actual passion to really hit every note they want. Is this a game I would want to play? Instead of it being, people will enjoy this, it's a game. And here it is.
Look at what BioWare did a few years ago with Anthem. Okay? They were a game that was all about storytelling. They were a gaming company that was all about storytelling and providing you with an experience that was a complete and full story. And their thing was, your choices affect the way the game outcomes. That's why people love those games. Mass Effect does that masterfully over 3 games. Amazing, right? Dragon Age doesn't have the culmination that Mass Effect does,
But in each pocket, yeah.
In each pocket, it does really well. And then they got pushed into doing a live service game and broke everything.
Exactly. And you're right. Yeah, there's a lot of these companies that own a lot of different developers that are pulling these teams that are very good at one thing and trying to force them to make something that if they just leaned into everyone's strong suits in these, they have these massive portfolios of incredible teams, but it's very rare they use the team for what they're good at and just go, you've been successful, which means you'll just make money for whatever we tell you to make. And not every great development team is good at making every style of game. Everyone has their thing they do. And yeah, Anthem was a great thing. And sadly, because of being forced to make Anthem at the same time as Andromeda, it kind of busted both games. Which again, folks, Andromeda is a great game. Okay? But we didn't get the DLC we wanted because fucking Anthem failed, and it pisses me off.
Well, and then look at Arcane Studios.
Yeah.
With Redfall. Right? They got bought up by Microsoft. Microsoft then said, hey, we're going to make you make this a live service game. I don't know that for sure, but that seems to be the direction they went. And they were, and they flubbed it.
Yeah.
Bad flubbed it. And Arcane is a great studio. One of the games on my list was Dishonored, a AA game, which is amazing. And I think, I think that's part of this discussion with AA games is I think we're going to start to see a shift in the industry. And I think it's actually a shift that's not just in the gaming industry, but in a lot of different areas. Publishing, a lot of areas where it's easier to start your own business.
Correct.
And more people are starting to become invested in starting their own business. And I think we're going to start to see a shift where a lot of these bigger companies that have a lot of bloat, they're not able to survive because their margins are too thin.
Correct. Yep. Well, and at the same time, you have... there's a time where indie developers and AA developers didn't have the technology because, a lot of these engines had to be built in-house, and they weren't able to do that. And now we've reached a point where Unreal Engine 5 is so easily accessible to anybody that people can make these incredible looking games for a lot less than having to design their own engine. A lot of these assets are just out there for people to use and create. And it's just, it creates better and better looking. There's so many of these AA titles that I was like, I thought that was AAA just because of the polish and, graphically what they're able to pull off.
Yeah. And it, like you said, the resources are available and they're out there. And like you said, it's like Unreal Engine 5, right? It's not just available to publishing houses. You can go out and make your own game.
Yeah. It's not that expensive to get a hold of all the tools.
Well, and I mean, you sell it at $5 and you sell it to 200 people.
Quick math, that's $8,000.
I mean, 200 people at $5, I think it's 1,000, right?
I think it's 82 million.
Sure.
Yeah.
But, and I mean, that's all profit.
Exactly.
For you.
Yeah. Just on on top of already making your own games in the engine, you're just making excess on the side for giving people access to those tools. Yeah. It's really
I think Unreal takes I think they take a percentage.
They do,
if I'm not mistaken.
But it's not huge. It's just enough. No. It's a no-brainer,
Well, and why would they have to when you have hundreds of people who are all using Unreal 5 that then they're able to use it for free? I get a small percentage of what 1 million people make.
Yeah.
That's even if I'm making $1 off of the game, that's $1 million right there.
Oh, exactly. You have, they allow so many companies to have access to it in hopes that something pop. You have let's say Pal World was done in Unreal Engine 5, right?
Right.
2 million people on just PC.
Yeah.
For a small percentage of that, massive. And that's just on the side passive income. It's very smart. And so many companies are able to take advantage of that. And again, make incredible indie and AA games. And we get to reap the rewards of that as gamers. It's a great time to be alive, dude.
Not just companies, but individuals, right? I can go and I can create a game. It would take me years, I'm sure. There's a learning process.
Oh, 100%.
And then the development that goes along to that. But I can, as a single individual, make a game. And that's cool.
Yeah, it's really cool. And then you just get a group of, well, look at these, like Valheim was 3 people, when, what am I thinking of? The space game.
Starfield, Star Citizen.
No. That's
No
a
Man's
huge
Sky.
group. No Man's Sky. That was a very small group when that game first was made
Right.
as well,
Yeah.
And that's grown into, there's still not a huge group of people, but like, again, that's a very small group of very passionate people that make something incredible. Subnautica is not a big team. Like, it doesn't take as many people to make something. And you still obviously, some of these AAA titles, that are insane, the credits are longer than movies anymore, but you don't really need that anymore.
No, and I think, like I said, I think a lot of these big companies, they have too much bloat to maintain their margins and to really make a substantial profit. And I think they have the wrong idea. They're thinking, we need to get a live service game so that we have a passive income that's coming in from these people month after month. But what they're forgetting, and I think they're trying to keep people engaged. They're trying to play into the FOMO. But I think what they're forgetting is there's an ebb and flow. Like, I love Helldivers. I still want to play it, but I don't have time right now. It's a game that I want to go back to. But then the numbers go low and they go, oh, the game's over. It's done. It's done. Let's close it down. Right? Concord closed down after 2 weeks.
I don't think it was even 2 weeks. It was like 9 days or something.
Yeah, something crazy. And I think but they can't keep it going because they have such razor thin margins.
Exactly.
Where you get a smaller group that's more lean, that's able to develop a game and then put it out there. Their profits are much larger, and they typically have the passion that goes along with it, whether instead of being a corporate machine that's just churning something out.
Native brings up in chat, like Minecraft was one dude as a side project, and now it's I don't want to talk about the trailer, but now it's going to be a major motion picture with Jack Black and Jason Momoa in it. Like, one guy as a side project 10 years ago. Yeah. And it's the biggest, and people who don't even game know what Minecraft is.
Right. I mean,
Mario, everyone knows what Mario is. Steve from Minecraft. And what's one more that like anyone could pick out, even if they never played a game in their life?
Sonic?
Maybe Sonic. Yeah, it's a pretty big IP. Yeah, like that's it. And that was one guy.
Yeah. And I mean, and I think what a lot of people forget is all of these studios, gaming industry as a whole, in fact, every company that's ever existed, it's exactly the way they started out.
That's exactly right. Yeah, yeah. Blizzard started as a tiny group of people. Ubisoft's a tiny group of people.
Eventually they grew because they put out games that people wanted to come and play, and they earned people's trust. I think that's also another big problem. We've lost trust in a lot of these gaming publishing houses, like these big ones, because they put out crap and they're just after our money. And it's like, if you're just after our money, we don't really want to give it to you.
Yeah, exactly. Well, that's the thing with how many releases happen now. Like, life's fucking expensive anymore, folks. Everyone's feeling it. I don't care how well you're doing in life. Everyone feels it. And to try to keep up with everything that launches, there's no way. You got to pick and choose. There's people that can only get one game a year. They're not going to choose the shitty, weird, AAA game that everyone said was awful. Yep. They're going to wait a month after something releases for everyone to love it. And most of the time, that's a much smaller game.
Yep. Like, I mean, even Space Marines too. As much coverage as it's gotten recently.
That's true, yeah.
It's a AA game.
That is true.
Like, it's not a huge publishing house. It's not this crazy publicity push. The publicity push has been
word of mouth.
Gotten good reviews, and there was already a cult following for Warhammer that was going to buy the game regardless.
Yeah, oh, absolutely.
They turned out a quality product to earn those people's trust, and the people are like, this is a great game. You need to get on it. And Helldivers too, same thing.
Well, and right? Helldive. A lot of these games set up other games. I'm loving this rant we're on right now, but Helldivers 2 made people realize this style of game that they really enjoyed, and then you have Warhammer coming out going, "Did you like that? But you want the power fantasy aspect of it? Boom, here you go."
Yeah,
yeah. Everything builds on each other.
I think that's what got me even more excited about Space Marines too, because I'm a Warhammer fan.
Yeah,
I love the lore. I've never played the tabletop game, but as far as books and stuff go, give them to me all the time. So I was already excited about it. But then I played Helldivers 2, and I was like, this is really fun. And then as I watched stuff on Space Marines 2, I was like, oh, this almost seems to capture, like, because when I play Helldivers 2, I have a really good time. But sometimes I'm like, I want to be the biggest.
You want to be the hero. I know. We understand, Russ.
Right. And so it's like, like I almost don't want to feel like it's me against overwhelming odds. I want to feel like I'm the overwhelming odds.
Yeah.
The power fantasy.
Exactly.
Just like you said. And I think Space Marines 2 is capturing that. From what I understand, it's difficult. But you're playing as a Space Marine, right? Which is an angel of death.
You're playing as what the training in Helldivers told you were going to be.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So I like that. I'm excited for it. I think they go well together, and I don't think one game is going to take away from the other.
No.
I'm excited for both.
So we are going to be playing Space Marine. We're going to have an episode talking about it. Maybe not next week, so we can have a time to play it. Possibly the week after that. But another game we need to play so we can review it on the podcast. That Astrobot game just launched on PS5.
Oh, okay.
And it is getting nothing but 10 out of 10s, 9 out of 9s, like, and people are already discussing like that could be game of the year. Like, apparently it is such an incredible platformer / like ode to PlayStation's history. I've heard nothing but, and it's been so long since I've just sat down with, like, since maybe, Mario Odyssey or something, to have just like a platformer game like that, third person and moving through. So
is it co-op?
I don't know. I'll figure it out.
Okay. So we're just going to play it.
Someone's knocking at my door. I'm like, I'm podcasting. Hopefully they're not dying. Are you dying? Yeah. It's my wife. She says, yes, she's dying. She can wait.
Well, I think we can wrap up.
Okay, we can start wrapping up here.
I think we've rambled enough.
So look for an Astrobot episode, right? Space Marines 2 will be coming up shortly. Next week, we're going to be discussing our favorite protagonists in gaming. Here in a couple weeks, we do have the episode for Mass Effect 3, which will be the end of the game club for the series I have chosen. So now, Russell, you don't have to do a series, but the next game for the game club is actually your decision. So keep that thought in your mind.
I'll keep it in mind.
Okay. And that's what we got going for the rest of the month. Russell, my dearest friend, I love you so fucking much. My heart is so full when I look at you.
I love you.
God damn.
You have been my best friend for, God, how long has it been? 20 years now? Since at this point?
2003?
Was it 3?
2003. The summer of 2003 is when you moved, I'm pretty sure.
Oh, yeah.
Because it was right before school. Yeah.
21 years. 21 years that we have been
insane.
Best friends.
Fucking love the hell out of you, dude. Where can people find you besides in my heart?
Yeah, you can find me on Discord, Jackal7250. Luckily, it had it right there, so I could remember which one it was.
You're the man.
You can also find me on PSN. Same. And I believe I also have a Steam. If you want my Steam, you can message me on here. I'll get to you.
Yeah.
But and then you can find me on Twitter at drjex. That's JEX 72590. I am working on a book. Hopefully that'll be published in the next few years, the next couple of years. So look out for that, I guess.
Hell yeah, baby. Thank you all for joining us for episode 123. I really enjoyed myself tonight. When we do the show, we are live. That's twitch.tv/ELMMERFUDD games. Normally at Thursday night. Well, it's not normal anymore. Our lives have been so insane. We've had to reschedule a lot. But the goal is Thursday nights at 7 p.m. Mountain. Okay?
But next week, it will be Sunday.
It will be
at
Sunday.
7 p.m.
So the same thing is, hold on, we're wrapping up. Okay. All right. Hold on. The kids want to say goodnight. And we'll close it out. We'll close it out together.
Okay. Well, now we just get to sit here in awkward silence.
You guys got to help me close the podcast out.
Thank you. What was that? Ex Berserker. Yeah, we appreciate that. Glad you could drop by and join us.
Yeah, you're good.
Yeah.
All right, come here.
It might be during the Raider game, but
All
we
right.
do we drop it on YouTube, and it's also released on wherever podcasts are seen.
Say thank you for joining us for episode 123.
Thank you for joining us in episode 123.
Okay. Pop down. Okay. We're on podcatchers everywhere.
Podcatchers everywhere.
You say it loud in the microphone.
Podcatchers everywhere!
I am so glad that the microphone went out at that second.
That cut you out. Just say we're on podcatchers everywhere.
We're on podcatchers everywhere.
You can find me
You can find me
on Twitter, Twitch,
on Twitter, Twitch,
YouTube,
YouTube, Instagram,
TikTok, all those places.
all those places.
Okay, now it's your mom's turn.
What?
Okay, now it's Ethan's turn again.
Okay.
At ELMMERFUDD Games.
At ELMMERFUDD Games.
Everyone, double M,
Double M, double D.
That was awesome. Russell, take us out.
Join us next week on Just Some Gamers for mutual chaos and utter incompetency.
Yeah. Love you guys. Have good sleepies. Mwah.
I have one more last. I have one last thing to say.
One last thing to say.
Ow.
I don't know what she said.
No, that's okay. That's for the best. She just yelled "gyat" really loud.
I kind of like. I was wondering if she just dropped the F-bomb.
That would have been amazing.
I would have laughed.
Yeah. I did. So she keeps going. She's like, "Daddy, I want to swear." I'm like, "No, you can't swear." So we were alone in the basement the other day, and I was like, "All right, babe, listen. I will let you say one swear word just this one time to get out of your system, right?" Thinking she's gonna say like ass shit, right? And she looks at me. She goes, "Really?" I'm like, "Yeah, it's just me and you. Go ahead, say it because you've always wanted to, but you can never say it again." She goes, "That's fine, I promise." And she goes, at the top of her lungs. And I was like, "Oh, I did not expect that." It was pretty funny.
That is pretty funny.
It was really funny. And a part of my heart broke. I was like, "Oh, didn't expect that to hurt." So,
But a little bit of you inside saw the child die inside first.
yep. But she had a smile, so I still loved it. So there we go. Let's go ahead and get out of here. Actually, this will be fun. One of the games I was going to talk about, Moonlight Reaper, who was in chat earlier, is actually playing it right now. That's actually hilarious. And that is BattleBit remastered, which is that like 8-bit or what Minecraft-esque graphics, like Battlefield game that again took everyone by storm. And we're like, hey, this is a better Battlefield game than actual Battlefield. So hopefully that makes them look at things different. But yeah, so we're going to raid over there. Give us some love over there. Again, we talked about what the next couple podcasts are going to be. My stream schedule, who fucking knows? It's mostly been just the podcast every week for the last month. It's been awful. Not the podcast, but just life not letting me stream. So
let's be honest. The podcast has probably been awful.
pretty bad.
Yeah.
Yeah. But hey,
I don't know
Egypt,
why we had so many people watching it. Hey, Egypt, right?
Egypt, dude, listen. People love AA games, man. We're all about double letters here. Double M, double D, double L, double S.
Double L, double S.
Double S, double A. People love batteries.
Should we just, like, the subtitle for our podcast should be Just Some Gamers. Just Some Gamers. The Double Letters Podcast.
The Double Letters Podcast, yeah. I like that.
Yeah.
I like you.
I like you.
And I like everyone who's in here tonight. Again, thank you so much, chat. It was awesome to see you. Some great back and forth, some questions, some discussion points. Really loved that tonight. And enjoy this other stream.